Okay, on to the second of the 4 engines sent to me for repair. This is a OS FS-90 4-stroke. I just took it out and had it running on the bench. This engine was in good enough shape, I felt good enough to just run it. And I run it prior to disassembly just to try and get things loosened up inside and hopefully help facilitate an easier disassembly. Now, while it was running, I did hear a bearing, so obviously bearings are going to need to be replaced on this engine, and I went ahead while it was still warm and pulled that thing off so I don't have to get my prop driver on it. There's a lot of benefits to being able to actually run an engine prior to disassembling it, if at all possible. Some of that is just it loosens things up and makes the disassembly so much easier. Prior to actually running it, I had set the valves just to make sure that they weren't grossly out of tolerance or out of spec. So I did have the valves set for that short little run. I ran about 2 ounces of 5% fuel through it. So hopefully this teardown will go much easier. Look at that. Not a very high runtime engine. That's a very nice looking piston there. Very nice. Just a little bit of rubbing and you can see metal. These little buggers can be kind of a trick because there's just a little slot there and you got to get the right size screwdriver tip in there, and it's just held in place with an O-ring seal. So that can present some issues. That one can be kind of a pain sometimes. Okay, and there's that magical reverse thread screw that we all love. I have to drizzle oil in there and heat that up, I'm sure. Maybe lay it in a vise or something like this so it kind of holds it in place. And I got to find the exact screwdriver to use for that too. Okay, so all I did was I just put my drive hub back on here, found the screwdriver that I had filed down, and broke this thing free. Luckily, it just broke free. I didn't have to heat it up or anything. That's pretty amazing. This engine is really in pretty damn good shape. I mean, yeah, it's kind of dirty, but it's nothing really. That's why I have an ultrasonic cleaner. Cleans up dirty things quite well. Now we can go ahead and take this thing off. Now all of these gaskets are gonna be destroyed, so there's no chance of reusing any gaskets, and I'm not sure if my source on eBay sells gaskets for this engine. I believe he does not. So gaskets for this engine are, you know, next to impossible to find, unfortunately. I may have to go heat that up. Smack it with a mallet or something. What's up, Coco? Yeah. This thing's gonna require a little bit of heat to get those front and back covers off, so let's go do that. Okay, so I was out heating this up. That's unfortunately why I'm wearing my gloves now. I did get the back cover off, and I'm still kind of trying to work this front housing off. Now the sleeve came out very easily once this thing got heated up. I just turned this piston and or crankshaft in it. So I'm just kind of walking this thing off here. Okay, there we go. Now this is probably a bit warm to be touching, but I didn't look at the underside of the head. Oh, look at this. Reveal of the valves. This engine's in really good shape. It really doesn't have that much runtime on it. And I love seeing that with these nice old OSs. So my piston's out. Very easily. No issues at all. This thing will clean up nice. All of this is freshly from that run I just did on it. And while this thing is hot, I probably need to go press this crankshaft out. Put my gloves back on here and go out and do that. Okay. Got the bearings off, crankshaft out. It's in really fine shape. Thing that's left to do is drive this thing out, because this gear is just pressed in there, so I just have to get the right size drive here and drive that out. And then this is always the toughest thing, trying to jimmy a wrench in here to hold this somehow while you try to unscrew that, and that thing looks like it's really rusty. So I'm going to have to put CLR on that and hope for the best there, because that's a hex, and I'm not even sure if this thing is going to engage in there with that rust on there like that. Doesn't feel like it wants to. So there's a lot of boring, slow, tedious work that needs to be done on this. But for the most part, this thing is disassembled now.